We have a strong Tonga-Fiji Island 6.3 magnitude earthquake and nearby earthquakes in the deep transition zone of Earth's mantle. This is in the area of the Tonga submarine volcano, and the activity is still ongoing. We'll take a look at the maps. Deep focus earthquakes, seismology, an earthquake with a hypocenter depth over 300 kilometers, as in these. They occur almost exclusively at convergent boundaries associated with subduction oceanic lithosphere, and they occur along dipping tabular zones under subduction zone known as the Wadati-Benioff zones. And characteristics are give rise to minimal surface waves. And we'll take a look at the maps, and we'll see that some of these are in the area of the lower ridge, which is about 533 kilometers depth. And from what we see here at the map, that's about the transition zone of the Earth's mantle. And you can see from the map here, going transition zone to lower mantle. So that's quite deep. We've recently learned that there are blobs here, two blobs, opposite side of the Earth, one under the Pacific Ocean in this area, and the other one larger and higher up in the area of Africa under the African Rift Valley. Okay, so this is the 6.3 that we've had, and then the aftershocks 5 magnitude 4.9, and these are on the Tonga Ridge, not far from Nuku'alofa, the underwater sea volcano right there, underwater volcano, and these are the deeper earthquakes, 4.8 at 533 depth and 4.5, 515 kilometers depth. So as you can see, they're very deep. And the transformation fault, anti-cracking fault. Okay, this has to do with the Papua New Guinea. This is the area of Indonesia and Tonga that we're talking about. Now, going back to our maps, this is our frequency. This is the undersea Tonga volcano. This is our location here of this 6.5 right here. And we have had recent earthquakes in the North Island of New Zealand, where we have the Taupo supervolcano, which erupted 27,500 years ago. From what geologists tell us, every 17,000 years, a supervolcano erupts worldwide, somewhere on the Earth. We have about 21 supervolcanoes around the Earth. This is one of them. This is the last one, the latest one that were erupted 27,500 years ago. So from what estimates the geologists have given, we're 10,000 years overdue for a supervolcanic eruption. Okay, this is the subduction zone, as we know, and the recent earthquakes in the area. This is just the past week's earthquakes that show up here. This is the Taupo volcano right here, and this is the 4.5 that we had 2 days ago, and this one just today. Okay, and if we go into, just for the sake of our aerial, that's the Taupo volcano right there. Crater Lake right in the middle. That's it right there. Topography. Lake Taupo. Okay, that's the supervolcano of the northern island of New Zealand. And let's not forget that we recently had the large earthquake off Japan, off the area of Fukushima 7.3, just 4 days ago. So this is the subduction zone. The Fiji Island 6.3, the eastern margin of the Australian plate, one of the most seismically active areas of the world, due to the high rates of convergence between Australia and Pacific plates. This is the Taupo volcano, the supervolcano, as we know. So how many miles is that, just for reference? Taupo from Tonga is about 1,000 miles. 5.8 today. 5.8. This is about 500 from what we have here. 500, about 1,000 miles away. Yeah. if you want to be conservative, about 1,500. So that's not too far, having to do with Kilauea, Long Valley from Yellowstone is about 1,000, as we can see. Okay, so this is our area that we're talking about. A lot of activity since the Tonga undersea volcano eruption. All of these earthquakes are not small, as you can see. Okay. Now, having to do with the 6.3, in the region of New Zealand, as we said here, 3,000 kilometer long Australian Pacific boundary plate extends from Marianas to the southern Kermadec Islands chain, including oceanic transform, two oppositely verging subduction zones, and transpressive continental transform alpine fault South Island, New Zealand. Since 1900, there have been 15 over 7.5 magnitude earthquakes recorded near New Zealand, 9 of these, and the 4 largest occurring along the Macquarie Ridge, including the 1989 magnitude 8.2 event on the ridge itself, the 2004 8.1 event, reflecting intraplate deformation. The largest recorded earthquake in New Zealand itself was 1931 at 7.8 Hawke's Bay earthquake. Last 7.5 plus earthquake along Alpine Fault was 170 years ago. And north of New Zealand, Australian Pacific boundary, east of Tonga, here, Tonga's up here, and Fiji, this is where we're having our deep earthquakes, about 530 kilometers depth. 2,200 kilometers, the trench approximately linear, including 2 segments where over 120 million years Pacific Ocean lithosphere subducts westward under Kermadec and Tonga at the northern edge of Tonga Trench. And this is where we're having all our activity. Australia-Pacific convergence rates are a fast whopping 60 millimeters a year to 90 millimeters a year, northern Tonga, but significant back arc extensions causing consumption rate of subduction Pacific lithosphere to be faster. The spreading rate of the Havre Trough west of the Kermadec Trench increases to about from 8 to 20 millimeters a year. So we have a lot of action there. The Kermadec Tonga subduction zone generates many large earthquakes on the interface between descending Pacific and overriding Australia plates. Now, across the North Fiji Basin are the Vanuatu Islands. The Australian plate again subducts eastward beneath the Pacific at the New Hebrides Trench. The Australia-Pacific convergence rates increase towards 80-90 millimeters a year along North Hebrides, and the Australian plate consumption rate is increased by extension in the back arc in the North Fiji Basin. Large earthquakes common along the North New Hebrides Trench and have mechanisms associated with subduction tectonics, though occasional strike-slip earthquakes, which are very big, can occur near the subduction of the D'Entrecasteaux Ridge within the subduction zone. So this is our area right here. Now, as far as the depth of these things, this is where we are right here, in the transition zone. 530 kilometers. Where are we? Okay, that's the other one. Going in more, 530 kilometers. I think it was this one here, today's earthquake. That's it right there, 530 kilometers. And this is where we are, right around there, in the transition zone towards the lower mantle. So that's quite deep. And from what we know, this is the area of one of the blobs that we were talking about a couple of videos back. One blob here, and the other blob here. The other blob here. And we've been these are just this past week earthquakes. And this is the African Rift Valley, right here, all along the east of Africa. And right here, Madagascar was one point part of East Africa. And these are the earthquakes that we've been having all the way from South Africa to Egypt lately. And all this is the fault, the Great Rift Valley of Africa. A lot of magma there, volcanoes and earthquakes. So that's one blob here in Africa, and the other blob here where we're seeing a lot of earthquakes lately, big ones under the South Pacific, okay, and Tonga-Fiji Islands. So that's what's happening there. Very deep earthquakes in the transition zone towards the lower mantle. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.